to order. Verify proper posting of agenda.
Yes.
Approval of previous meeting minutes. That would be the August 28th and August 30th meeting.
Move to approve both sets of minutes as mailed.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Motion second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposing, same sign. Motion carried. Motion to deviate from postage agenda if necessary.
Yep. Second.
We have motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposing. Motion carried. Discuss and possible approval of resolution finalizing the CIP projects.
Okay.
I do believe,
Ken, pass that.
oh, pass it around.
Sorry.
I've got one already.
You do? Okay.
But give me another one.
Wait, you can share with me and then you give Keith one.
Otherwise, here, you can mine, I've got yours.
Oh, okay. I think I got it. Yep.
I don't know, Jim. Something we could get done.
Let me with it. So as long as they keep it.
Okay.
I've read it.
You want to give that?
Diane, just a sheet of short one.
I guess as we start discussion on this resolution,
Do I have it?
as the amended agenda that you got, you did see that on Friday I was called by the Finance Committee if I would come to their meeting on Monday. And I did attend that meeting on Monday, and there has been some changes made by the Finance Committee as to our projects, our approval of the projects. So if that will affect this resolution, in my opinion, it may.
Well, so, can I ask, this resolution is based off those changes?
No, it is not. Right, Diane?
Yes,
fiscal note?
the fiscal note is based off the changes.
Yeah, yeah, the numbers on fiscal note.
Yes, on the back page there.
But is the resolution itself?
Well, the resolution is generic. I mean, we'll attach some schedules to it. It's just like at this point in time.
Just for you.
Those numbers on the back page have changed.
Those have changed. Those are the ones that reflect the changes from the finance committee.
Yeah.
The cuts in the finance
Yep.
committee. Yeah.
Well, that's all fine, well and good, but this committee has forwarded the original plan to the county board. So I'm sure finance can propose that these projects not be funded, because that would be allowable under what their what their charge is to the county board, and that's to look at funding projects and make a recommendation to the county board as to whether they should be funded or not. But actually removing the projects is beyond the scope of what they're allowed to do. So the project should move forward as this committee has approved them. If they wish to make a comment on this resolution, or not even the resolution, but they want to make a comment on county board and ask that these projects not be funded, they can do that, but they can't remove the projects from the CIP committee. Not from my understanding, if we need to get Tony down here, we can do that. But.
Yeah, I talked to Tony a little bit because I tried to do this. I tried to wing it and do it on my own last week, and I couldn't. And so I called Ken and asked him to come, and he came to the meeting. Was it Monday or Tuesday, something like that? And after we got done, we talked a little bit, and I talked to Tony, and Tony says either the two committees get together and discuss it, or you put something forward and then we say, okay, here's the other ones, but do we take them off or do we add them back on? I don't know,
Well, I know. I mean, it's as plain as any other committee. We can go through the county rule book, but I think Tony's well versed in it.
Yeah,
There
he
is
is.
nothing in the rule book that the finance committee has any authority over any other committee. They have authority over monies, and they can make recommendations, but this committee, we spent countless hours in meetings going over putting this list together and the reasoning thereof, and we made a suggestion as where the funding can come from. And finance can certainly weigh in on that, but the actual projects and eliminating them because they may feel the funding should go someplace else, that is beyond the scope of what they're charged with by the county board and the county board rules.
If you look at it, because I asked the question too, because they basically took out the funding for 5 projects. And then I said, well, then do I move them to the next year, which is what we did with the ones that, you didn't recommend for funding in 2014. They said, and then they made the motion to completely take it out of the whole schedule for the board.
Yes. And our motion, and I quote the minutes that were just approved, motion by Kraus and second by McCullen to move forward a resolution to county board finalizing the CIP projects and any projects not funded to be moved forward into next year's list. So that means our list goes forward to county board. If they wish to weigh in and say, we feel these funds could be spent somewhere else, I'm totally for that. But our list of projects need to go to county board because that's what we were charged to do, as it says in the beginning of the resolution, that we would go through and put together a plan and submit that. And that's what we've done. And I don't see why it would then be taken out by another committee that has no authority over this committee. So I don't know how that works.
That's what they did, and I agree with you. But Tom was told to take those projects out of your presentation, and they are not to be in his presentation.
Right, the PowerPoint you indicate does not have those,
Right.
it has the cuts.
And that committee has more authority over you than this committee that instructed you to give you the projects.
I answered it, I have 27 supervisors.
Well,
Whatever happens, you guys tell me to change it back, I'll go with that.
I'm just saying, I don't know how this works. I've only been on this board for 10 years. In the past, every other committee works under the direction of the county board, not the county chairman, not the county supervisor, the county administrative coordinator. It works under the direction of the board. The direction of the board was to put together these projects. It says right in the creation of this committee to present to the county board, not even to finance. And therefore, our motion to send to the county board was correct. Finance certainly can review it and weigh in and say, just as the evidence storage was done, weigh in and say, we don't agree on funding it through debt, etc. But they didn't have a right to say, we're not going to put this project to the county board. So I don't know what happened, maybe because we've been playing a little bit fast and loose, allowing certain committees a little more authority than that's required to them under county board rule, and now they've taken it to the next level. But I cannot sit idly by and say all the work that this committee's done and all the scrutiny of these projects and sitting down and spending hours of time trying to figure out, and we really did, how to make this happen without borrowing money, because we were given a direction of the finance committee that they don't want to borrow money. So therefore, we tried to do it right to the nickel as to how much money there was available, and it was just a recommendation of the county board. We're not saying they have to use that funding, where it's going to come, but this is the projects that could go on the funding that's available, and it should be presented to the county board as it was directed by this committee, not by finance. If finance wants to actually put a note in the fiscal note, or whatever they want to do, or bring it up at county board and say, we don't think this project should be funded, or is a valid project, and maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction in last year's fish cleaning station that they approved and yet got disapproved on county board, which is the way it's supposed to work. And I don't know what happened here. I was asked before the meeting if I read the article in the paper. No, I did not. I heard about the article in the paper. I've been a little busy, haven't had a chance to do that. I went through the minutes that were sent here today. I went through our agenda, and there was nothing about deleting projects on our agenda. So just the approval of the projects that we approved before and the presentation. That's all we should have to do here today. This shouldn't even be a debate. That committee made a decision to pull those projects off of their agenda, that's fine, but they can't take it off of ours. I don't see where their authority would exist to do that, and I challenged Tony then to show me in the county board minutes where county board where it allows them to do that.
I think though that really the finance committee does our budget. They come along to the departments and they tell you,
Recommendations on.
you have to cut till they get down to where we give them that responsibility. And if that responsibility that they have, and they say that we have to, in order to make our budget, we have to cut some of your things out of your budget, out of your suggestions, then that's the way it's gonna be. That's the way it should be. They are responsible for our budget, and we have to go along with that. And we always did, Bob.
Well, unfortunately, that is what's happened to this point. We, the county board supervisors, are responsible for the budget. The finance committee reviews and presents a budget recommendation to the county board. The full county board is then responsible for that budget and has removed and added items to that budget on the county board. And that is the way in this democratic society that this county board is operated on by the laws and statutes of the state of Wisconsin, not by someone's idea that one committee can make the decisions for the whole county board, because they do not have that authority anywhere in our rules, nor the state statutes of the state of Wisconsin, or the Constitution of the United States of America. All right, you got me wound up now. Thank you very much.
Okay,
And
if I could make a comment.
Marlon because he wants to talk.
I wanted to make a comment. It was similar to Gene's comment, maybe. If we have a lot of committees here, and the committees throughout the county, they submit a budget and they submit expenditures that they want to spend, put into the budget. Unfortunately, if the amount of money that all the committees put together and decide that they've got to spend because they've got a right to do it, if the amount of money exceeds the available amount of funds that we have, then somebody has to make a decision as to what can be done. And as far as I can tell, that is vested in the finance department and the finance committee to be able to look over and come up with a balanced budget. And I think that is the purpose of what has been created here, is to create a balanced budget. Now, nobody's happy if anybody loses their money. Unfortunately, you can't squeeze blood out of the turnip. And when you have a fixed amount of money that you can spend, a certain size pie, it means that's it. And that's what the committee has been working on. And I would certainly say that the finance committee, I would suspect, has put a lot more hours into this than this committee did.
So the finance committee has graded and rated the KIP projects.
That's right. They have to make some
Well, they have.
decisions.
They have done that.
They've made decisions as to where the money could be spent. And you have to obviously not spend on everything that everybody wants.
Okay, so the $140,000 that was taken out of capital projects budget here is being spent on what?
It isn't spent on anything because we don't have it. You can't spend it if you don't have it, and that's that simple.
We suggested it come out of the sales tax that was set aside by county board for capital improvements. That's a standing resolution that allows for that money to be spent in there. And like I said before, the finance committee, in their due diligence, and they do a very good job of going through and balancing a budget. It absolutely has nothing to do with that unless you're going to tell me that you needed that $140,000 somewhere else. And realistically, that's not even what's at debate here.
Yeah,
Debate,
it is.
no, it's not.
Money is money, Bob. We only have a certain amount of money, and to say this dollar is different than that dollar, you're just puffing wind there.
Well, thank you, Marlon. But the whole idea here is it's the project that was taken away, and the project still has its merit. Where the funding has come from can come from finance, but taking the project off the table is not the authority of the committee.
You went through the same thing a few weeks ago when the county board approved the evidence storage building, and then you came about saying, well, we don't have to worry about doing the funding for it because that's up to finance to come up with the money.
That's right.
No, that is. If
A minute ago you said it was.
We'd have had 3 new courthouses by now since I've been on the board. If that were the real facts that you didn't have to worry about who's going to pay for it.
No, I didn't say that. You're turning the words around here. What I said is finance is in charge of finding where that funding is supposed to come from. That's what you're in charge of. You're not in charge of deciding what things are built or not built or what projects go forward or get stopped. That's not finance. It's nowhere in your rules does it say that. And I challenge you to point that out. And I'm not here to debate this today. I'm here to say what's on our agenda. This debate is not on our agenda. There's nothing on our agenda about removing projects from another committee off of our committee. Ours is here to view the presentation that's here, and it sounds like that presentation may be incomplete, but the fact is we have a approved resolution, an approved suggestion that it goes to county board.
Well, there'll be more coming yet. We haven't reached the amount of available funds at this stage yet. And so there will be more coming out yet. So it isn't a matter of where we're going to spend the extra money. It's a matter of having to still cut further.
Well, and that's fine, and that's a whole different story of what we're working on here today. What we're working on here today is sending forward projects to the county board for their consideration.
That was approved by the committee.
That was approved by the committee, yes.
Mr. Chairman.
And
may I ask some questions?
Bob, I did talk with Diane and ask her about the agenda as far as being discussed, and I do believe you did talk to Tony.
Yeah, I thought it could be discussed as part of the resolution to approve the project, so.
So go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry, Diane, did you say then that these 4 or 5 projects could not be sent into 2015 gift?
Look at the last, I look at the last motion on there. And I'm not a legal person, I'm not an attorney, so all I'm telling you is these were the motions. The Finance Committee took 5 projects out for funding, and then at the end, they made a motion to take them completely out of the book that goes to county board.
Could we make a motion to, and I will make that motion, to put these 5 projects back into 2015? I guess that's the motion, and then we at least have that time to discuss and discuss again, as opposed to wiping it off completely. Can't we just, I'll make the motion to move it into 2015 KIP and see what happens.
Some of these projects, so we're going to take place before 2015.
I think you're talking about the 5 projects, right?
The 5
Mike?
projects that they want to.
That were taken out.
That were taken
removed by
out.
finance.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are
Should have been-
the Shawnee Lake Watershed Quality Improvement and Shawnee Lake Basin Shoreline Restoration.
There's 2 there.
Shows 5 on the
3, 4,
purple sheet.
there is 5.
There's 5.
Land acquisition, communications system for law enforcement, the MIP, the 2 Shawnee Lake planning and development, committee, Shawnee Lake Watershed, Shawnee Lake Shoreline Restoration, and then the evidence storage. So it's 5.
There were no dollars associated with evidence storage. Marlon, you're on the finance committee. Can you explain why that was removed?
There's no dollars in them.
We had dollars on it, we had dollars on the original. I took all the dollars out and I got mines through there.
Okay.
Do you want, I can get you.
Oh, I've got my
a report
copy here.
with
I
me.
think it was 715,000, but I could be wrong. on
No,
that.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's-
715,000. Under it was funding to be determined,
Which is an approved project,
which is an approved
dollar
project,
amount.
but it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on with that anymore. So I don't even know what I'm supposed to do
Seems
as
that
far as.
most of us don't know what's going on.
Randy?
Yeah, I'm going to strongly object to that evidence building being taken off and even placed in another year. It's a need. It's something that has to be done. It's a health hazard now. For some people that say that I'm a con man and telling people this. I'll take them out there without a respirator on. I'll wear the respirator, but somebody who thinks I'm a con man can turn around and not wear the respirator. This has been pushed off and pushed off. Last Friday, I went out to the meet out at work release with 4 representatives from the county board, all thinking that maybe we'll get something going this year. build it piecemeal, but get it done within maybe a three-year period, because there is supposed to be some funds left, which nobody seems to know here now about. But all of a sudden, that gets voted down yesterday in public safety. I'm tired of the runaround. I really am. You know, we're thinking about going and doing something with Syria over there because there's a dictator over there. I think there's 2 committees sitting in this county board that should be looked at very strongly. And I think the people out there should be looking at who their representatives are. You could have borrowed at 1.27% what was needed for that. We have debt paid off, and you guys are squabbling over pittance. Now, I'm a taxpayer too. My kids that live here are taxpayers too, but I'm fed up with it. You people are hindering progress. And that's why we're in the situation we are now, is because year after year after year, we're asked to cut budgets. So we're sitting here with obsolete radios that won't work. We're sitting here looking for MIP councils because they don't work. And you people are hindrance. It's about time somebody wakes up and votes you out of office. That's my comment.
Okay, speaking to the motion on the floor, I believe these projects in the years they were placed, we discussed that in the past. I believe they had the merits that they should be placed in the year that they were. I don't see to move it to 2015 as an answer to what we tried to do here. So I'm not in favor of that motion.
Did we have a second to that motion?
Yes, it was.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to move those projects to 2015. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Aye.
So the
Aye vote.
Voted in, it dies.
All right.
Do a roll call vote so we can tell you. Did she get the vote? Got it. Did you get it? Did you get it? Or did we need a
I
roll
had
call?
Ken and Bob and Randy
That's no.
as no.
No, right. And
I
Marlon,
voted
Gene,
yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
I don't
Tony?
profess to be a parliamentary procedure expert at all, but I don't see why you just keep the KIP proposals where they were originally, let the county board decide. Like, I think Bob said that best.
I don't think you have to be an expert. That just takes common sense. And as a matter of fact, we do have a motion that was approved to do that. So I'm not sure why and then now a motion to not do that was defeated, so I'm not sure what the debate is.
And I guess my question is, to you then, you followed the direction of the Finance Committee and removed those projects from your presentation, so your presentation isn't complete today.
Right, we have to go back and put it back in, which I think we can do.
Right, so I guess that moves us down to number 7, and that's discuss the land acquisition policy.
First, we had questions for Tony. He came over.
Sure.
He needs to answer our questions. I guess there was concern, Tony, as to what the authority of one committee over another committee. As the Finance Committee on Monday removed some projects from our approved list, and there was nothing that this committee knew about it other than I attended the meeting on Monday. So I guess the question is, who has authority to do those things according to county rule?
Well, I think the easy answer to the question is the county board has the authority. Oftentimes committees disagree, and when you have a disagreement, the county board is the ultimate arbiter. Clearly the board rules provide, and the KIP committee was created to make a recommendation to the county board as to how to spend these environmental impact fees and other fees that it has jurisdiction over. So the KIP committee is certainly entitled to make its recommendation to the board. The Finance Committee is certainly welcome to make their recommendation to the board. It sounds like it's different. Sounds like, I don't know all the facts, but they want to have 5 less projects or push off 5 projects, whatever it may be. However it differs, those disputes can be resolved by the county board. What I always encourage committees to do is, if they have differences, to direct staff to have some sort of plan as to how they want that submitted to the county board. In this case, do you want a KIP committee book with the projects that the KIP committee has approved? and then have the finance committee submit their 5 separately, or have them removed? Or do you want them to be as an appendix to the book so that the county board has that information in front of them and can discuss those projects and ultimately vote on them? But the bottom line is each committee can take whatever position they want. It's ultimately for the county board to decide. All I would ask is that, for example, you give Diane some clear direction on from both committees as to how you want this presented to the county board. You know, perhaps the book contains what you originally wanted it to include, and have the finance committee then have a resolution separate from that expressing their concern, and then the county board can ultimately debate it and vote on it.
But the bottom line question, that was a good answer, Tony, that you gave there. The bottom line question is, their last motion is to approve the capital projects budget with changes and exclude the items that removed. They don't want these on the resolution going forward. But as a committee, we can send that forward. We voted to send our list to the county board in resolution form. The finance committee wants to supersede that and have those removed before it goes to county board. But as a committee, we have the right to send it forward, and then they have the right to
Amended or debated on county board floor.
Each committee has not only the right but the obligation to present what they think is in the best interest of the county to the county board for debate and discussion, and ultimately to be decided by the county board.
Thank you.
I think I'd agree that we should move forward with our list, the original, with nothing removed from it. And if somebody, finance committee or somebody wants to remove those projects at our county board meeting, and they do get the approval to remove them, then that's another situation. But we should move forward with what we originally intended to move forward.
Because if this moves forward the way it's proposed, then that means planning and zoning can bring a resolution, and highway department can bring a large resolution. All those groups that would then therefore be affected by the KIP should bring a resolution, saying that they want their KIP back in, or et cetera, et cetera. And so this is just, I don't know what happened to the standard operating procedure of the committees therefore present to the county board therefore makes a decision. That's the way it worked last year, the year before. This year now, we've broken from that and said, and I guess it's one thing to say what we're going to, not recommend to have these projects funded, which is certainly within their right, my thought.
Sure.
But to say that they get removed from the KIP book,
Right.
I mean, that's just way above and beyond, in my opinion, the authority of another committee over this committee, which is given the charge by the county board to present a KIP plan and a proposed budget. And finance, of course, should look over that proposed budget. But it doesn't give them the right to remove the project. They can say, we don't believe this is the best use of the funding, which is done on county board floor, not like this.
Yeah, I think all of our rules are set up so that the ultimate arbiter is the county board. If you have something that goes before a home committee and gets voted down, any individual supervisor can then bring it back to the county board. The whole notion behind that is to make sure the county board gets to decide things. In this situation, if you have whatever it is, 10 projects, and that's what you want to include, certainly the county board should be able to weigh in, have all that information in front of them, and then entertain motions to exclude projects that people feel should be excluded. But I think to thwart the free flow of information to the county board is inconsistent with the county board rules and good county government.
Thank you.
But how are we going to come up with a budget?
Well, that was
How are we
good.
going to come up with a budget if everybody's going to change it at the county floor? How are we going to come up with a budget? Then all the time we're spending with the finance is absolutely mute.
Finance committee has spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks going over trying to balance the budget. And we have a shortfall. We came 1.6 million over when everybody put in what they wished. Now, if the finance committee doesn't weigh in and make those recommendations, who is going to? If we send it to the county board and we're 1.6 million over because that's what everybody asked, are they ever, as a practical matter, going to be able to resolve that? Maybe it's worth a try. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that it's not, it's a complicated question. It's not, there's no easy answer, but I can tell you what the answer isn't, and that is having one committee try to tell another committee in essence what to do. I know that isn't the answer. It would be nice if the committees could have, I don't know, a joint meeting and figure this out so they could present one uniform proposal to the county board. But if that isn't the world we live in, the county board ultimately is going to be the one who has to weigh in and determine this, even if it's not pretty.
And the county board has the right to approve a budget that they want to approve. And if it's over budget, based on what the finance committee says, that's too bad. I mean, the county board has that authority. We should be provided all options, not just the options that 5 people think that the county board should have.
Yeah, as I've said, and I know I'm being repetitive, I mean, the county board is the one who determines this. Again, it would be great if everybody could get together and present one uniform proposal. That often doesn't happen, and that's why you have a county board to
Keeping information from them is not the way to go.
Sort through all of the available information, make the decision that's in the best interest of the county.
Well, I guess the question's been asked and answered, and I guess we can move on. So we really appreciate you coming down with that. And I guess since we don't have a PowerPoint presentation, we can discuss the resolution. I mean, not one that, that is complete. And I don't know that if the resolution has to be changed, can we approve the resolution? Sounds like we're going to be meeting again to approve the presentation, I would assume. That's why I don't want to spend a lot of time here today if we're going to meet again.
I think the resolution is, I don't think the resolution itself will change.
Not the wording.
Can you
do.
share with Tony the resolution,
Oh,
please?
okay.
But I think the fiscal
Just the
note
numbers.
changes if
Yeah.
you want all
Right,
those
those
projects.
numbers have to be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the resolution just says we're approving the plan as presented, so you're probably changing the
The white
plan.
sheet that I gave you had all the projects listed in there with the right totals. There's lines through the ones that were taken out. But just so you know what the totals are. So that schedule would be attached to the resolution that we're on the county board.
Will your fiscal note change?
My fiscal note will change, yeah. Right,
Because, I
Tony?
mean, this fiscal note isn't appropriate
We
for our.
already have all of this.
No, that's based on what's on the purpose sheet.
Right. That'll change, just like the PowerPoint presentation will change. Right, that's definitely changing back to the original number.
And the finance committee will be getting the resolution at their regular meeting on Monday. And
Super.
So my question is, does this committee want to view that before county board and view the resolution after it's been put back to what we directed?
I don't.
Or, well, then we should set another meeting date for that and doing that.
Well, I can tell you what's gonna change. I mean,
Well, I know, but
The sales
we
tax.
didn't think we were gonna get what we got today.
I know.
And
So
I don't have
would
a
like
presentation to look
I'm
at.
not gonna vote on anything unless I can see it. Because at the last meeting, Marlon talked about perception of what we vote on. And we all knew what they meant. And I don't wanna work that way. I wanna see what I'm voting on.
Okay.
So are you proposing that we adjourn the meeting and set another date?
I'm not gonna vote on the resolution unless I see it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'd be proposing we meet before if it's gonna go to county board in September, I would propose that we meet before that, so that we can see.
Well, we
Tom's
have-
presentation as well.
And one of the reason we are having this meeting is to have Tom go through the presentation, that we see it, or make changes if we want to make changes.
Correct.
So, what do we do with Tom's?
I have an abbreviated presentation. All it's got in there is the numbers, it's got everything in there, with the exception of the 5 projects that the finance committee took out and then directed me to do a PowerPoint, that, sort of an amended PowerPoint, for lack of a better term.
Do you have totals in your presentation?
Just the totals with the 5 projects.
Which will change.
Which will change, yeah, the whole thing will change.
I don't see the point of watching.
Well, yeah, you won't watch it anyway, I was gonna hand it out. We're not gonna do it, screen stuff, but,
We can do it at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Set another meeting, we'll do it at the
Why
next
don't you
meeting.
hand it out anyway, so at least we can review it, because we can make the mental adjustments to the numbers. Because there might be something else that you have in there that we don't like.
you make it.
It's hard to believe.
Oops, I lost half of mine. Oh, well. Mine came before it. Mine's the only one that's not saved. That's actually better.
I gotta ask, Ken, may I ask a question of
Go ahead.
Tony? If this resolution does not get passed, if it goes 3-3, like we just did on the 2015, that resolution then goes back to finance and they could pass it, put it on the floor? Or what would happen if it goes 3-3 here?
Are you talking about this resolution regarding
Yes,
KIP
sir.
projects? If anything is 3-3, obviously it fails to get a majority. You could still then vote to nonetheless, and what I'd recommend, based on everything we've said, is to nonetheless forward it to the board so that they can consider it.
But the finance committee could also vote and forward to the board. We wouldn't.
Yeah, the two committees, again, they're separate entities. They can do what they like and make whatever recommendations they want. It's nice if they would get together and make a uniform recommendation, but each committee is free to make whatever recommendation they believe is in the best interest of the county.
Thank you.
Tony, can I just want a question for clarification? So if one committee completely votes no and doesn't even want to send it to the other county, to the county board, but the other committee votes to send it to the county board, does it go to the county board then?
We all have to take the broadest approach possible when it comes to the county board. If any committee wants anything to go to the county board and they have jurisdiction over it, whether it be concurrent or otherwise, they have the prerogative to make sure it gets to the county board.
I believe our last meeting, we did send it to the county board with the situation like you were discussing, Mike, the tie.
3-3.
And then we had a vote to move that forward to the county board, and then it was 5-1 or whatever type thing, so.
Yeah, to move with no recommendation.
Right, with no recommendation.
That's correct.
Well, we do have a seventh member of this committee who's just unfortunately not here today, so hopefully,
Sounds like you're going to put this off and maybe that person will be here at the next meeting. Is that the way it's
well, that's what
anticipated?
we're hoping. I mean, then at least it wouldn't be a tie. Then at least it'd be one way or the
Yeah,
other.
right.
But it could still go to the board either way.
Well, I sure hope, no matter how this committee decides in another week or whenever we're meeting, that the county board gets an opportunity to see the projects that we present. No matter how that vote is next
Yep.
week. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I too, if we could truly get by without not having another meeting, I'd be happy with that. But I don't know how we can do that, not seeing what it actually is going to be.
No.
We wouldn't have needed this meeting if we wanted to look at it. Meeting dates? County board's the 25th.
Packets will go on the 19th.
Yeah.
We should have a meeting, a separate meeting, not a 10-minute meeting before the county board.
I agree.
Right. Yeah. We don't know whether it's 16th.
Right.
Did you say the 18th? What did you say? Who said the number?
I said 17th, Tuesday 17th. That'll give them time to get it in the packet.
What day is that?
Oh, because
That would be,
It's a Tuesday.
Ken, I'm looking at a Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah.
17th is Tuesday,
all right, they got highway, and that's correct.
Okay.
How about the 18th?
8 o'clock.
18th is a Wednesday,
On the
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
18th is a
18th.
Wednesday. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Later. No.
Okay.
8 o'clock on 18th?
9 o'clock on the 18th.
I guess we split the difference, 8:30.
Well, that's where we've been meeting is 8:30.
Fine.
18th? 18th, Wednesday 18th? Open? 8:30.
And at that time, we'll have the resolution and the presentation.
Yep.
And the time you said?
8:30.
8:30?
Now, if you decide to change the presentation, I'm gone half a day Thursday, all day Friday, and all day Monday and Tuesday. I'll be back in time for the county board meeting. Just to let you guys know.
She's going to be here, isn't she?
She's the brains of the outfit anyway, so it'll be all right.
Not to interrupt you, Tom,
Right.
but this committee has never decided to change the presentation, and it directed you for a presentation. Not hollering at you, but I'm just saying that's what this committee directed, and that's what I expected to see today. And I think maybe you need to sit down with Tony and talk about who you actually answer to, or, well, how do you follow your direction? Because I wouldn't want your job and have to try to figure out this committee tells me to do this committee tells me to do that, and
I have 27 bosses and
Yeah.
11 unruly children.
but here we are now spending per diems for everybody else because another committee gave you a wrong direction. We've not changed and I'm assuming that what we approved last time is the presentation we're going to see. Otherwise, we don't have to have another meeting if it's going to change again because you took direction from somebody else again. I move to adjourn.
Okay, do we have to do anything with the discussion of land acquisition at this meeting?
News we're gonna talk about, you remember, we kind of talked about last time about, we're gonna set aside money for land acquisition.
You might pass that policy out so we can deal with it next time.
I didn't write a policy. Who did you want to, I mean, I don't know that you directed anybody to write a policy.
Okay. All right.
Does anybody have any other questions for me? Can I be excused?
Thank
Anybody?
you very
You're
much.
thinking too hard.
Thank you, Tony.
What's up, I bet you.
Thanks, Tony.
Land acquisition policy, I mean, what's the feeling of the committee? Is that something you don't want to spend time on right now since?
I guess having had the experience of having gone through the rest of the budget since we last dealt with that, and I was one of the people who was voting for the land acquisition. Now I would vote the other way, just because of the funding.
Okay.
That would be the only reason to say that it's not a practical thing. Some things have to give, and that would be certainly one that would give first.
As far as, but with the policy, are we looking at then the policy for, I mean, acquiring land? It's not so much for the funding of it, right? Are we looking at, or are we just looking at the
No, I
the
think
funding?
I thought we were talking about the funding, that if you're gonna set funds aside for it,
Right.
it should stay for that.
Was the KIP committee going to have a dollar amount set that should automatically, we should create a kind of like the ATC fund, we should create a fund for land acquisition and then every year delegate X number of dollars to go towards it. Is that my understanding is what we were talking about?
Yeah.
The major problem with that is
Save
look what
money in
happened
that
last
account.
time. Look what happened last time. We had the significant fund there, and all of a sudden in the middle of the stream, we decided, well, we need to do an update to the Milky Theater. So we'll use that land acquisition money.
It was good we had it.
So, it depends on whether or not you felt that was a worthwhile thing to do.
No, the county board felt it was a worthwhile thing to do, and they did it, and it was good that those funds were set aside so they could do that and didn't have to borrow the funds.
So putting aside, Marlon, because you have a better handle on the budget than the rest of us, in general, do people think it's a good idea to have land acquisition funds and a policy that would put money in it every year?
So we can save money for.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we think that's a good idea or not? Because I don't want to work on a policy if at least 4 or 3 of us are not even in favor of it.
I think it's a good idea because when it comes up, you got the money there. You don't have to steal from other projects, and I think it's a good idea.
Randy, I just can tell you the feeling of the Finance Committee on that, and that was stated at our meeting on Monday. You don't need that much money in the land acquisition fund. That's what we were told.
So, I mean, what number were they talking about? When you're talking about not
the
that much money.
140 plus
There's 229 in there now.
229.
So it'd be, oh yeah, because we wanted to keep it around the 350 mark.
Right. So theirs was the issue of money, which it should have been, but not the actual fund. The idea of having a fund, they didn't say anything was wrong with that. There was just too much in it.
Just the amount of money that's
Was being
would be
proposed
in it.
and put in it.
Yeah.
Because I too think it's good policy to have money set aside so that you can act on these things that are basically unforeseen. It's like our undesignated fund balance. We have it there for those things that have come up that we don't see. We have property that comes up. I mean, people decide every day to sell something. We should have the ability to have funds available to act on some of the, at least the down payment and move forward.
There's nothing wrong with having a little savings account, I mean, every time the cost of something comes up, it's where can we take the money out of somewhere else? And my opinion is we should sometimes try to avoid that. It's unavoidable sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with having a savings account for in case something comes up. I mean, we all have personal ones. I don't know why the county can't have one. And I know, like I said, sometimes other things come up and we want to grab that money sitting there. But I'm all in favor of land acquisition policy. I don't want to work on something if it's not.
Randy, that's how they paid for the Spillman system. Is they put money away, and when it came down to it, Sheriff Smith just could go right out and get it. It didn't have to go back to the county board.
So is this something that we have to do right now, prior to September? Or is this just a policy we could do?
In the off-season.
We actually have a land acquisition cost center, right? There's 200 and some thousand in it right now. All we're talking about is whether that should be kept at a certain level by this committee.
You should probably set some parameters on there on when do you want to, I mean, it's even like the sales tax, there's parameters on that, when at first it was supposed to be saving for an annex or a justice center or whatever, and then they decided they needed it for KIP projects. Well, the policy right now is the only way you can access it is if it's a KIP project, or it has to be, there's some other parameters on it, I think it has to be a certain dollar amount or something like that. So you might want to kind of look at that and kind of figure out, well, when can you dip into it?
So we should maybe wait, because my understanding through the grapevine is there's a resolution coming forward to deal with the sales taxes.
Yeah, it went to admin.
Because of this committee, Bob. Because of this committee.
This committee never forwarded that.
No, we talked about it.
We talked about it.
That's correct.
But this committee never made a recommendation
they
one
didn't.
way or the other.
They didn't.
So the long and the short of it is maybe we should hold off until we see if there's funds then available, even for this committee for that matter.
Yeah,
Because
but
from my
what's-
understanding, if
what's that
ATC
fund?
funds are gone and
Yep.
the sales tax fund is gone, then is there going to be a need for this committee?
I mean,
Because it
well,
sounds like we're being told we're
I
not
think you
needed
still
now.
need to, you need to prioritize projects, but I mean, it seems like a waste of time if you prioritize projects and you determine that something really needs to be done and then you can't get the funding for it.
Sounds
And then again, that's in today's world. I mean, if we had a land acquisition policy, I'm sure that it's always going to be an easy target for the finance committee to pull that back for something else, because it is just going into a savings account. But believe it or not, I mean, the county could get cashy one day, and it'd be nice to have it in place so that it does automatically go in there if it comes to a point where the county doesn't need to pull it back. So I think,
Well-
and maybe now's bad timing with budget concerns, et cetera, but I would like to see us maybe work on a policy in the future.
The thing is that, sitting and watching budgets every year and it never gets any easier. I mean, there's just no way you're gonna be able to take capital projects out of your operating budgets anymore, not with the limits that the state has set. Back in the day, the county used to do that, and the rates would go, tax rates would go up and they go down, but you levied for it. Now the only way you can do it is to borrow and then levy for the debt, to pay the debt back. But, that can be arranged over, your periods of time to even that out too. The levy itself is gonna be less than what it was last year, but it's because of debt. Because the debt payments are down that much.
Okay, the long and the short sounds like it doesn't really pay for us to work on that if we don't even know if this committee exists from now on.
Yeah, maybe it's not a.
I would think let's put it off for right now.
Yeah, let's keep it on the back burner
Yes,
for now, but
yes.
something.
Randy, we do have a policy and we do have that fund set up. So it's not like we're taking it away.
Right,
It's
right.
just a matter of whether we want to add to it at this time.
Right.
And that was my point, was that at this point, after watching the budget, it didn't look prudent to add to it. Because if we add to it, we have to take it away from somebody else.
Okay. Okay, understandable. Well, let's back burner the policy and readdress it maybe in a couple months or.
Secretary, have you got that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other business
Amended agenda.
that may come before the committee for consideration?
Can we move to the amended agenda?
Oh, the amended agenda. To approve per diem for myself for the attendance at the 9/19/13 Finance Committee meeting.
Also move.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded.
My only comment is I appreciate that you did go, Ken, and I think this should be paid because you did bring information back to the committee, so thanks very much.
I guess the only question I had is, which committee pays for your time?
That's a good question.
The KIP committee, but
KIP
it comes out of committees and commissions. It comes out of committees and
But he's
commissions.
paid for by Chip.
Yeah, I mean, the KIP doesn't really, I mean,
Yeah, we
there's a
don't
lot
have
of
a budget.
committees that come out of the committees and commissions, cost center, and that's where that one would come from.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposing. Motion carried. Any other business? Jim, I guess I have a question on the projects that, well, I guess they're not going to be out now. But the Shauna Lake watershed and the Shauna Lake Basin shoreline restoration, does that deal with a grant that we applied for a grant?
Well, it would be underneath the umbrella of the grant, and it would work in concert with the AIS grant that we're applying for the next 3 years, yes. That was approved by county board to move forward with that.
So
yes.
if the grant is approved and we remove that, then what will happen?
Well, then we're, in terms of the plans of the things that we wanted to accomplish underneath that grant for the next years, it limits that ability to accomplish some of those things, and we would have to go back to the Land Conservation Committee and get further direction and retool that. The goals and objectives that we'd be trying to accomplish.
Matcher's requirement.
Yes,
This would meet-
yeah,
This
yeah.
was gonna meet part of the match
Yeah.
requirement.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn. I move we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Do we have any letters and communications?
Letters and
Is
communications.
this the same as the purple?
I second the motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Motion been made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Same sign opposing. We stand adjourned Wednesday, the 18th.